Hello and welcome to the Adulting 101 video series. This is a quick version video. That means I'm going to make sure the video stays 15 minutes or less. But for you, as you're taking notes, I want you to pause after each slide so you have time to write down your ideas. And if you're doing this with a group, maybe you're at home with your family, maybe you're in school with your class, every time you pause, there will be a question in the lower left-hand corner for you to discuss, like, what's your purpose in doing this lesson today? Why are you here? Well, here's why I'm here. I'm here to talk about the college process for senior year. This is the real heart of the college preparation series. We are going to go big picture through the year from August till July, and we're going to talk about what are the steps that you need to do to transition from being a senior in high school to being a freshman in college. When do those steps happen, and how can you put your best foot forward? I want to say in advance, for almost every topic on here, I have a more in-depth presentation that goes into just that skill. Today is the overview, just to give you a sense of what does the calendar look like of my life. But when you want more details, however you got access to this, ask them to get to the other ones and I'll give you more details, okay? Let's start with August. August is the time to have a conversation about money. You want to have an honest conversation with your family about how much money can they afford to help pay so that you could know where you're applying. Here's how I like to think about it. Big universities like the University of Texas, University of Minnesota, whatever the big one is in your state. It's kind of like shopping at Nordstrom's. There's a higher price and not a lot of sales going on, okay? If you go to a private college, apply to a private college, that's kind of like shopping at Kohl's. Have you ever been to Kohl's? If you pay full price at Kohl's, you are doing it wrong. You should walk out with a receipt that's super long that says, here was the original price, but then this is our Kohl's price. And actually that whole department was on sale, plus this item was on extra sale, plus you had Kohl's cash. And so in the end, you might get it practically for free. That's how private colleges are. Small public universities are kind of like shopping at Target. Reasonable prices, but not a lot of sales going on. You're likely to pay the actual ticket price. Community colleges are kind of like shopping at the Dollar Tree. No shade. I love the Dollar Tree. It's my favorite place to shop. They're super awesome, super affordable. If what you need is wrapping paper and gift cards, you shouldn't go anywhere else and pay more because they've got them there for cheap. But you can't get everything there. You can't get a 4-year degree from a community college. Scholarships are like coupons that you can use at any college. And if your parent works for a college, that's like getting an employee discount. So those are all ways to think about how much is this going to cost and how can I save some money. All right, September. September, big picture, it's your time to assemble all the pieces of your application. So if you have not yet asked for recommendation letters, ask for at least 2 of them, ask at least 2 weeks in advance, and write thank you notes to those people who write them. A small gift card is optional. The card is not optional. You have to write a card. And not just an email that says, hey, thanks. Actual card, okay? Pick colleges that you're going to apply to. I would say a minimum of 3, maximum of 10. 3 because you want to have at least a safety school built in there, and 10 is the max on the FAFSA, so that seems like a good guideline. Then you need to figure out what the deadlines are for those 3 to 10 schools and then ignore everyone else, okay? If your deadlines are November 1st, you get them done by November 1st. There might be one of your best friends who had to do it earlier because they're an athlete and they had to get their stuff done by July. But if that's not you, that's not you. Then you want to collect all your application pieces. Do you have one good college essay? Did you write one in your English 11 class last year? Could you revamp it, or do you read it and you're like, that is totally cringe and you need to start over? Now's the time. Do you have a resume? Do you have a list of all your activities, your leadership, your service? If not, now's the time to make that list. If you need guidance, I have a presentation to walk you right through it. SAT and ACT. October is a great time to retake it. If you didn't like your score the first time, October is probably the best time senior year to do that. If you can even go up by 2 points on your ACT, that could be up to $10,000 more in scholarships. And then short answers. Make sure you've drafted out a basic 5-sentence answer for what do you do for community service? Tell us about your leadership experience. What are your career goals? What are you thinking about for a major? Because you're going to find those on many applications, both for colleges and scholarships. Before I leave here, if you are interested, I do have a separate presentation in depth on recommendation letters, in depth on college applications, in depth on essays, in depth on resumes. October. October is your month to actually apply. The rule of thumb that I've heard on every college visit is no Halloween parties until you get your applications done. Now, not everybody celebrates Halloween, but if you're not familiar, Halloween is October 31st. So that means if there's a November 1st deadline, which is the pretty common one for most schools, that's probably Eastern time online. So that might actually be like 10 or 11 p.m. on October 31st for you. So you want to make sure that you get your stuff done on October 31st. If they have a later deadline, that's fine, but most of them are much more willing to accept you if you apply in the fall. Some colleges will waive their application fees for the month of October, so they're free to apply in October. So that's why we want to really focus on October as our month. October is also a month that the FAFSA opens. You can use your taxes from last year to do them, so you want to get started on that. You'll need to send your transcript, which is your official report card. You'll be able to do that through the Common App or an app called Parchment, a website called Parchment. If you have Naviance, you might be able to do it there as well. And you're probably going to be retaking your ACT or SAT in October as well. If anyone tells you that the ACT doesn't matter, push back on that a little bit. There are some colleges have made themselves test optional for admissions, but they are not necessarily optional for their scholarships or for their programs. So like you want to go into the aviation program, you might get accepted to the college without an ACT score, but then the aviation program says, sorry, we have a minimum ACT of a 27 and you didn't take it. So make sure you're paying attention to that. I do have separate presentations just on financial aid and college applications if that would be helpful. All right, November. November is a time to do a college visit. If possible, do an overnight visit to one of your top 3 schools. If you stay overnight with a student, they'll tell you what it's really like instead of putting on a happy face in front of your parents like they do on a tour. This is a good time to apply to scholarships that are from your colleges. So look at your 3 to 10 colleges, go to their scholarship pages and make a list of all the scholarships they have and what those deadlines are. Start working on those. And if you haven't yet, finish that FAFSA, because the sooner you finish, the sooner you get your financial aid information, the sooner you can make your choice. All right, December. December is kind of a whirlwind, so you want to make sure you've got your college applications done before you leave for winter break if you didn't get them done already. Make sure you've applied for any scholarships available through your college, wrap those up, and then you can start looking at other scholarships, national scholarships. You can go to scholarships.com and search for anything that's important to you. Are you into swimming? Search swimming scholarships. Are you into diversity? Search diversity scholarships. Just see what's out there. If you're into bowling, there are bowling scholarships. So honestly, try anything you can. Beware if there's a scholarship that says, no essay, just put in your email here. That's not a real scholarship. They're just trying to put you on a mailing list and you're just going to get junk mail. So don't fall for that one. Then you want to start looking into local scholarships. So you want to make a list of every organization that you work with. Your bank. Call your bank and say, hey, I'm a high school senior and I bank there. Do you guys have a scholarship? Call your hospital. Some hospitals have scholarships for kids who volunteer there or just for kids who were born there. Call your insurance company. If you have life insurance, those companies often have scholarships for kids who have accounts with them. If you attend a place of worship, call them. Say, hey, do you have a scholarship for seniors? If so, what's the deadline? And you know what? If they don't have one, you might inspire them to start one, which would be pretty cool. If you can't find anything that way, go to your school guidance office and just say, hey, what do you guys have? They probably have a website where they post applications every month. So at the start of every month, you can just log in and see what's available and apply there. I do have a separate lesson just on scholarships if that would be helpful. All right, by January, if you got your FAFSA done in the fall, you should be starting to get back financial aid offers. And you want to take some time to actually learn about financial aid. You can ask your guidance counselor or you can get my lesson on it. There are 4 types: loans, grants, scholarships, and work study. I'm not going to go into that here, but there is a separate lesson on what's the difference in all of that stuff. Then you want to do more college visits. If you haven't picked, if there isn't one that's really standing out to you as your favorite, pick your top 3 and do overnight visits there. Then just be aware that most scholarship application deadlines are January to March. So all throughout January, February, March, you're going to be applying for scholarships. February, there's a good chance that you're going to have to send an updated transcript or a copy of your grades in February to prove that you passed your first semester classes. So just be aware of that. This is also a time when most kids start to burn out, and it's a good time to have a conversation about why are we doing this? And literally financially, why am I doing this? What would happen if I dropped out of school right now? The average salary would be $32,000, 9% unemployment rate, looking at lifelong earnings of like $4 million. What if I graduated? What if I went for 2 more years and got an associate's degree? What if I got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree? What if I got a doctoral degree? What would the unemployment rate be? Could I retire? How much is my lifelong earnings? This is a quick summary of it, but again, if you want that more in depth, I do have a separate presentation on that. March. Okay, March is the time to really stay on those scholarship applications. There's a good chance that your community has local scholarships that will be due around March, where local companies are sponsoring scholarships. Any national scholarships, you might have to do an interview. If you made it to the next round, you might have to go interview with a scholarship company. And then you should be getting financial aid packages in, and you want to sit down with your family and actually compare them and look at, okay, how much money does this originally cost? How much money are they willing to give me? What's the final cost of this school? Can we afford it? Who's going to pay that money? How much can I earn over the summer? What are we going to do? April is decision time. The national decision deadline is May 1st if it's a residential college. So by May 1st, you pick one college and you say yes to them, you email them, and then you actually email all the other colleges and say no. That way they can open up a spot for other students who are on the waiting list. This is a good time to have conversations about personal finance. Do you understand what a budget is? Do you know what bills are? Insurance, taxes, credit cards, credit scores? This is a good time to have those conversations with your family. If they're not comfortable having those conversations with you, guess what? I've got presentations on each of those. I have a whole personal finance collection if that would be helpful to you. In April, you're also likely to take placement tests. That means your college is going to reach out to you and say, hey, we need you to take this math test so we can figure out what your first math class should be. And maybe you test into Calc 2, whatever. Also common for world languages as well. Don't study for those tests. They are pre-tests, so you don't want to cram. You don't want to get placed into a course that's too hard for you. May. Oh my goodness. May is my favorite time of year, senior year. It's insane. It is an unrelenting steamroller of good things. So every day you're like, oh my goodness, I have my AP test. This is so huge. And then it's over because the next day you have prom. And then you want to be excited about that, but the next day it's senior skip day. And you want to be excited about that, but the next day you have your final band concert. And you want to take time to think about that, but the next day it's cap and gown handout. And it just rolls so fast. And then you're planning your grad parties and going to your friends' grad parties and going to your concerts and your friends' concerts. It's a lot. So you want to make sure that you got everything else under your belt. You got your grades in a good place by April, because May is just madness. Then June. June, you actually need to launch to college, and guess what? I got a presentation to walk you through it. You got to switch over your school email account is going to deactivate, so you want to set up a new one, transfer over your drive files. You need to send a final transcript to prove that you graduated. You need to change your email on ACT.org and Parchment and stuff like that over to your personal email so you don't lose access. You're going to attend orientation and register at your college. You're going to meet with a financial aid officer to confirm all that financial stuff. This is also a good time to have a conversation about troubleshooting, which is like, what do I do if I get to college and I get sick? What do I do if I get to college and my grandma dies? What do I do if I get to college and I'm failing a class? Guess what? I got a presentation to guide you through it, but those are all things that happen. They all happen to just about everybody. So you might as well think through it in advance and figure out, okay, what office on campus is here to help me in that situation? What do I do? Then by July and August, you want to be packing. You can just do a quick Google search for a college packing list if your college doesn't send you one. And then this is a good time to learn independent living lessons. Do you know how to do laundry? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to do oil changes? Do you know how to do first aid? Like, do you know which pills to take if you have a headache versus if you have a cold? Your own personal first aid. Do you know how to protect your identity? Do you know where your social security card is and how to not carry it with you? And do you know why that's important? If you don't know some of those things and you don't have somebody that you feel comfortable asking, I got you. I got those too. You'll probably have to sign a roommate contract when you get paired with a roommate. Your college will have you walk through and talk through your expectations and commitments with them. Honestly, even if you're living at home, super important to talk through with your family. Like, I know I'm living at home, but I'm also an adult and a college student. What does that mean? What does that look like? Do I have a curfew? Do you want me to babysit? Stuff like that. All right, hopefully you have at least 3 good ideas you can take away. If this was helpful to you, here's a list of